People across the country are bracing themselves tonight for further flooding as the Environment Agency warns more is to come. There are still 156 flood warnings in England and Wales and 19 warnings in Scotland. Those travelling home for Christmas today faced widespread disruption on the trains. Some lines have been replaced by buses, and rail companies urged passengers not to travel to the West Country. Jane Death has this report.
For anyone travelling to Devon or Cornwall, Tiverton Parkway is the end of the line. People can go no further. Today they were being driven home for Christmas on replacement buses or by Dad.
I was supposed to be going to Barnstable, go home for Christmas, and yeah, I've got as far as Tiverton and my dad's going to have to come out and pick me up.
So much water either side of the tracks, they had to slow down to walking pace.
It's just been a bit of a disaster. I think everyone's just had to pull together and cope and get on with it.
The Paddington to Penzance main line has flooded 3 times in a month, but this time the force of the water has bent the rails out of shape.
And that's bad news. It means there'll be no trains, only buses between Tiverton and Exeter and Newton Abbot until at least Friday. There are also delays between London and South Wales down to flooding at Swindon. And trains in and out of Manchester are being disrupted after a landslip on the tracks at Glazebrook. And in northern Scotland, there are no trains between Helmsdale and Wick. But there are dozens more delays of varying degrees caused by things like engineering works and drivers falling sick on top of the floods.
It's going to be pretty interesting. It's going to be a little adventure.
I've got to get picked up halfway because it's just a nightmare.
It's not ideal for Christmas Eve. Really, I just want to get home.
Christmas and hundreds of homes have been ruined by floods, from Western England to Eastern Scotland. And forecasters say a new band of rain sweeping the country could mean more flooding.
There are further heavy showers during tomorrow and then another spell of wet weather later on Boxing Day. The weather during the rest of the holiday season continues to look unsettled.
As if we needed any more rain. It's going to be an anxious Christmas for many.
Just before we came on air, I spoke to Phil Rothwell. He's the flood risk manager at the Environment Agency from Godmanchester in Cambridgeshire. I asked him how much worse the saturated ground now makes the situation.
Groundwater levels are very high, the ground is saturated, river levels are very high and respond very, very quickly to any rainfall, but particularly when it's heavy rainfall, they respond very quickly and very badly. This is a cycle that we've seen over the last few months where rivers just don't get the chance to recover and the ground just remains saturated.
Where is your greatest anxiety?
Southwest of England remains a particular concern, which is we've seen over the last few days over 400 properties flooded, road and transport systems completely wrecking people's Christmas travel arrangements. So the South and Southwest remain a concern. Going into the River Severn and River Thames, both are now responding, although we don't anticipate those getting to crisis levels. And then as we go further north into the northeast of England and Scotland, we've seen the results of heavy weather. But as I say, rainfall seems to be abating somewhat.
Do you think that as a result of what's going on, that there are really strong policy implications as to what should be done next year to try to stem this, or do we just have to accept this as a once-in-a-lifetime period?
Well, we've certainly had periods of unsettled weather, and we can go back as far as 2007. We had very bad flooding. We've had flood incidents in Carlisle and Cockermouth and Cornwall and Somerset over the past few years. So yes, I do think we need to look at our flood defences, we need to look at our urban drainage systems, and we need to look at how we do our warnings. We have a very successful, a very effective warning service from the Environment Agency in England and Wales. And we've warned over 110,000 properties in the last few days.
Well, let me ask you finally then, I mean, if people have managed to make it through to wherever they're going, what's it going to be like coming back?
In the next couple of days, I think it'll be marginally better. What we've seen from some of the pictures from the rail network is really going to take some time to recover. But hopefully, over the next couple of days, certainly the weather will improve a bit and Whether rivers will get the chance to recover or not remains to be seen. We certainly are advising everyone to remain vigilant, check before you travel, check our flood lines. If you're in a high-risk area, get onto our flood warning service, look at Twitter, Facebook, all sorts of ways in which you can get information. River levels are on our website and updated every 15 minutes, so you can check your immediate surroundings. It's very important that people are aware of how much at risk they are and prepare accordingly.